What is up, ladies and gentlemen? So today I'm going to be doing a quick video on the care and husbandry for the curlyhair tarantula. This was known formerly as Brachypelma albopilosum, aka the Honduran curlyhair, and it has since been divided into two different subspecies. So we have the hobby form, which is native to Honduras, and then we have the Nicaraguan form, which is known scientifically as Tiltocatl albopilosus. But they're both more or less the same species. They're almost identical in both captive care and appearance. They just happen to come from different countries. Obviously, as you may have guessed, this species gets its name from the particularly long bristles along its body that have a very distinct curl to them, almost like a tarantula with a permanently bad hair day. They are a New World species, being that they come from Honduras and Nicaragua, which is of course in South America, and they are a opportunistic burrower, meaning while they will, in the wild, they will pretty much hide under anything that they can, whether it be dead tree logs, rocks, crevices, even burrows made from other animals that have since been abandoned. They will also construct their own burrows, given that they are provided with adequate substrate to do so. As you can see, mine has done quite a bit of digging since I rehoused her. She dug straight underneath her cork bark all the way to the bottom of her terrarium. And this is why I often will refer to curly hairs as eight-legged bulldozers, because as you can see, they really love excavating. So I usually give my subadults and my adults about 4 to 6 inches of substrate. Spiderlands, obviously a lot less. But you still ideally want to fill the substrate about 4 to 6 inches. About halfway to 3/4 of the way up to the top of the enclosure. That way, the tarantula has enough substrate that in the event that it attempts to climb the side of its enclosure, which terrestrials will often try to do, but being that they are terrestrials, which means they are ground dwelling, they're not very adept at climbing and are, needless to say, a little on the clumsy side. So in the event that they fall, this keeps the abdomen from bursting open and obviously the tarantula bleeding out and dying by providing them with extra cushion. And it also, like I said, allows them to dig, which curly hairs, they seem to appreciate that. At least mine do, and they tend to settle in a lot quicker when provided with a lot more substrate. Females will reach a modest size, about 5.5 to 6 inches, with males staying slightly smaller. This is I'd say, slow to medium growing species. I believe males take around maybe 8 years to mature. It could be slightly longer, but females obviously grow a lot slower and can live around 20 to 30 years. For adults, I usually give them a 5-gallon terrarium. They're perfectly happy. Just like I said, provide them with plenty of substrate, good ventilation. They appreciate a good bit of humidity, given that they are native to a tropical rainforest environment. And it's always good to provide them with a piece of cork bark, should they choose to hide under that versus digging, even though a lot of times, like you see here with mine, they'll end up burrowing straight underneath it anyway. But it's good to provide your animal with choices. That way they feel more comfortable. The fake plants you see here, that's not really a necessity. That's more just something I want to do for aesthetic purposes. And of course, you want to give them a water dish to drink from, even though 9 times out of 10, like this girl did here, they'll end up burying it anyway. But always good to have on hand. And you also want to mist the enclosure maybe once a week for an adult. Slightly more for spiderlins. They tend to desiccate rather quickly. So maybe every other day for a spiderlin. Now, I want to touch on that real quick. When I say mist, I don't mean straight up like drench the entire enclosure. And definitely don't spray the spider itself. They do not appreciate that. But just do like a slight misting, just so that the substrate is damp, but has time to ventilate and dry out in between. Now, as far as feeding goes, this is by far one of my best eaters. They will tackle prey with an absolute vengeance. So anytime I do a feeding video or I have company over and I ask, hey, does anyone want to see me feed my tarantulas? This is one of the ones that I always make sure to feed first, because they love food. Just give you another good look at them here. I don't remember if I said this earlier, but in regards to handling, while I don't necessarily condone it myself, this is one of the few tarantulas in my collection that I will handle, and I can honestly recommend to beginners as a good species to hold on occasion. Of course, you want to keep that to a minimum, as they are not only very fragile and can injure or possibly kill themselves from a fall, but they also stress rather easily. So these are not really animals that you want to hold on a regular basis. But anywho, I hope you all enjoyed this video on the Honduran curlyhair, or I should just say the curlyhair tarantula, since like I said earlier, there's now 2 different subspecies, or 2 different forms. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. I will definitely be sure to include this species in my next feeding compilation. As, like I said, they never disappoint. Alright guys, well that's it for today. Please stay tuned for more. And as we say here every day at Mark's Tarantulas, you guys stay awesome.